Hello, I'm Ariana from the Autism Project. As the summer months kick off here, one of the things that we always find at the Autism Project is an increase in the number of calls and inquiries about elopement. So we thought we'd make this video not just to equip you with the skills and the tools to prevent elopement and respond to it, but also that you could share this video with your entire network. One of the things that we recommend, the real foundation of everything we talk about around elopement, is that no one should go through it alone. No parent, no caregiver, no family member, professional, first responder, community member should be solely responsible for preventing and responding to elopement. It requires a team. If you're a parent watching this, reach out to your child's school team if your child is in school. Bring them in and start having conversations about how to prevent and respond to elopement. Share this video with friends, with family members, with trusted neighbors, so that everyone is equipped with the tools and so that they can provide that support and create that network. In addition, reach out to the Autism Project. Contact our family support team. Our family support team consists not just of people who are trained professionals in this field, but those same people, while being professionals, are also parents of autistic people. And so not only are you talking to someone trained in elopement who can provide you with tools and strategies, but also with someone with lived experience as well. All of the information on contacting the Autism Project can be found in the links in the description. In addition to forming this network, another proactive tool is to start looking for trends. Some may call it data collection, but sometimes that term can be a little bit overwhelming. So let's just think of it as looking for patterns. If elopement has already happened, consider some of the following. Where did the person elope from? What time of day was it? Who was present in the environment? What was happening at the time? Where did the person go? If they got to where they were going, what did they do when they got there? We're looking for general trends, and when we're looking for the reason behind elopement, oftentimes it falls into two categories, broad categories. The person is seeking something outside of their environment, or they're avoiding something or escaping something within the environment. So I am leaving my environment to explore, to get sensory input, to seek something tangible. I want to get something. Or there's something in my environment that's overwhelming, overstimulating, dysregulating, anxiety provoking. So I'm leaving this space to get away from it. So by writing down these patterns, these trends, it can help us to identify why the person is eloping and then to address that elopement through different strategies. I'll give you an example. There was a family that I was working with, and their child eloped most often to the playground. We looked for some trends. So first of all, we know he's leaving home. It usually was early to mid-afternoon. Oftentimes it was during a long weekend, school vacation, summer break, so his routine was disrupted. He always would go to the swings and go on the swing. So we started to kind of think about, it seems like when his routine is disrupted, he's not going to school, he doesn't have a lot of stuff going on during the day, so perhaps a little bit of boredom or dysregulation because his routine is disrupted. And then when he gets there, he's seeking the swing, he's seeking movement. For those of you that might be familiar with the OT field, the occupational therapy field, you may have heard of vestibular input. So he's getting this vestibular input, this movement input that he's seeking. So we're going to backtrack a little bit. We think about, okay, he needs movement. Are there any ways that we can give him some of that input at home? If we have the resources, can we put a swing in the backyard? If not, a rocking chair, a wobble stool, could he bounce or rock back and forth on an exercise ball? If your child is in school and has an occupational therapist, it can be helpful to reach out and say, my child always goes towards the swings. Is there anything I can do at home that can give my child that same sensation? And then let's think about some other variables around this elopement. We talked about the fact that his routine was disrupted. So then we thought, let's give him a schedule at home. So on those long weekends, on those school vacations, can he have a schedule that we can implement? A little visual schedule that tells him what's happening during the day. And is there anyone available at that time to take him to the playground? Can we put playground on his schedule? Can he even request going to the playground? Can we give him a visual of the playground that he can hand to a family member or a caregiver and request going to the playground? So, in terms of proactive supports for the child, we thought about sensory strategies, schedules, predictability, visuals to give him that structure. And then we zoom out a little bit and think about the environment itself. So, how was he able to walk out the front door? We changed the locks. So originally the locks were down at elbow height. So he had a deadbolt, he could just turn and open the door. He was little, so we were able to move the deadbolt up to the top of the door where he could not reach it. Alternatively, I have worked with and interacted with and learned from families who would use a lock that had a key deadbolt on both sides. So you needed a key both to exit the house and to enter. Another family I worked with had a keypad where you had to enter a code to open and close the door. Now it's important, and of course I think this goes without saying, but might as well say it, you never know, that we want to make sure that the individual prone to elopement does not see the code when it is entered, or else you'll have to change it. That would also, when we're thinking about safety, include locks on all of the windows, potentially alarming those windows as well, alarming the doors, fences around the yard. All of these sorts of things can be critical for an individual who elopes in order to keep them safe. If you'd like more information on anything about setting up the home environment, a really great resource is the National Autism Association, especially their big red safety box, which is all different tools for preventing elopement and for supporting the individual in their home or in their living environment. That information can also be accessed by caregivers, by teachers, and the links are in the description so you can get some more information. In that big red safety box, they also include stop signs. So a stop sign, literally just a printed out picture of a stop sign or a cardboard picture of a stop sign that can be put on doors and windows. It's a great visual cue for the individual to know that they shouldn't be accessing that exit to the home or to the living environment. I was a teacher. I taught children as young as 3 all the way up through transition age. And in that time with my students, I always did stop and go activities. So it would be, for example, we'd be in the hallway, I'd have a stop sign and a go sign, and I would hold them up. So my students would be walking and then I'd hold up stop, and everybody would stop, and then go, and everybody would go. The purpose of this is not to get some physical activity. It was a very slow walk, but rather to teach my students what a stop sign meant. And so that way we were able to implement the idea of stop on doors, on cabinets that my students shouldn't have accessed, and for families to use them at home. So stop signs with the individual knowing what stop means, alarms, locks, fencing, all of that can be helpful in keeping that individual safe. In addition, another proactive step can include GPS devices. So that can be a bracelet, an anklet. I remember I had a student who would wear it around his ankle. His wrists were very sensitive. He didn't like things touching his wrist. He wore it around his ankle. Some individuals will keep them in their pockets or have them sewn into the lining of clothing. I work with an individual who had his GPS locator tied to his shoelaces. So there's so many different ways that you can implement it. One thing to keep in mind, again, I've worked with folks that had them in the pockets or the lining of their winter coats, in their backpacks, is we have to consider, one of the things we have to consider is whether or not the individual will put on a winter coat before leaving the home or put on their shoes. If not, a bracelet or an anklet may be a preferable option because that would stay on the person as they're entering and exiting the home. It's not something they would have to put onto their body. So again, just some things to consider here. You may also consider an ID bracelet. So instead of having a GPS locator, it's a medical ID bracelet with the person's name and their diagnosis and a contact number in case of elopement. Another proactive strategy is to meet first responders in advance of an elopement. So finding community events led by first responders. For example, contact your fire department. Ask them if they do any touch-a-truck events or community-based activities. At the Autism Project, we're so lucky to work with the Public Safety Special Needs Coalition. Together with the PSSNC, we host a touch-a-truck event in October for Halloween. It's a trunk or treat. And so autistic people from all over Rhode Island in costume can show up and trick or treat with first responders. We have fire trucks there, police cars, ambulances, all with lights and sirens off. It's a very sensory friendly event. And they can trick or treat with the first responders. So they're meeting them in a very neutral, low threat, low impact activity. It's a fun event that also allows for connection with first responders. The individual, the child or adult, learns to identify a person in uniform in a non-threatening environment, identifies the trucks and the cars, again, in that non-threatening space, so that in the event that the person elopes and encounters a first responder in uniform during the elopement, they're not perceiving that first responder or that fire truck, that police car, as a threat. In addition, these community events provide an opportunity for first responders to learn more about supporting autistic people as well, again, in a non-threatening, low-impact, low-stakes environment. One of my colleagues, she and her son, who's on the spectrum, will bake brownies together and bring the brownies across the street to the fire station. Yes, it's an opportunity to thank first responders for their work in the community, but they also get to know Josh, so that in the event that Josh elopes, which has happened before, first responders are prepared. They have that relationship with Josh already. Josh has that relationship with them and perceives them as non-threatening. So community events, touch-a-truck events, sensory-friendly events can be a really powerful tool. Information on how to host those events can be found on our website and in the link in the description. Swim lessons can also be an incredibly powerful proactive tool. You can find information on swim lessons local to you through the National Autism Association, and again, the link for that will be in the description. Many autistic people in the event of an elopement are drawn to water. So having swim lessons, having safety lessons around swimming is critical. In the event that the person elopes, knowing how to get to the side of a pool, knowing how to stay afloat, how to tread water, how to lay on their backs, in addition to when it's okay to go into a pool, creating a routine around first notifying an adult, even having an adult walk you to the pool before you get in can be helpful. So once that child has that routine around pools, they may be less likely to enter that pool alone. Another proactive step in keeping the individual safe. Now, we have talked about a lot of proactive strategies, and again, I completely recognize that this can be overwhelming. If you feel like this is all so much and so much to keep track of, again, call the Autism Project, talk to one of our family support specialists who can help take all of this information and break it down into some bite-sized pieces for you to implement one at a time. Now, let's talk for a moment about what to do in the event that an elopement does occur. The moment you notice that child or adult is missing, call 911. Do not wait. You may be thinking, well, I know that they always go to the playground, so let me check there first. If they're not there, I'll call 911. Those are critical minutes that we may lose if we don't act immediately. So the second you know, call 911. Inform the dispatcher of 3 things. 1, notify them that the individual is autistic. 2, ask them to arrive with lights and sirens off. And 3, ask dispatch to inform the first responders to start their search with water. As we talked about in proactive steps, so many autistic people are drawn to water. And so because of that, in our search, we want to start with water. I once learned a tip that really has stuck with me. I was watching a member of the Connecticut State Police give a presentation on elopement through the Autism and Law Enforcement Education Coalition. And he talked about how whenever they receive an elopement call, he instructs his officers to put the last known address into Google Earth. This gives the officers an aerial view of the home. Once they can see the home or wherever the last known address, whatever it is, a school, a daycare, what have you, they then zoom out around that last known address so that they can see pools, rivers, lakes, streams, water tanks, standing water, any of those sorts of things around the home, and start there first. So again, you're on the phone with dispatch, you've made that 911 call. Identify that the person's autistic, ask them to arrive with lights and sirens off, and to start their search with water. This can be a particularly difficult conversation to have, particularly for those of us close to an individual who elopes. I thank you for sticking with me and taking the time to talk about this, because both the proactive and reactive steps are so critical in maintaining the safety of the individuals that we love, the individuals in our families, who we support professionally, who are in our community, who deserve our support. Again, if any of this is overwhelming to you, or if you're looking for more information than what we've talked about today, check out theautismproject.org. We have lots of resources on our elopement tabs, and you can also contact our family support team. Thank you for joining with me today to have this discussion and to work together to support safety for the autistic people in our community. Thank you.